Yo, welcome back to Bottom of the Net. Today we have something very special and we're all excited about. We have a new segment called Back of the Net. It's going to be about soccer, and the guys you see here is going to be the team for the oh my days. It's soccer. I'm American. I apologize. But the team we have here is Steve, Danny, Aiden, and these are your guys, so get familiar with these faces, and I'm gonna pass it on to Steve.
Alright, so I made sure to choose a team that kind of gets all people, all ages. So you got myself, born in America, Portuguese family, so we're super into soccer. Danny is my little brother, pretty much same background, but he's getting a younger audience. We got my boy Aiden. He's out in Trinidad representing. And then we got my boy who's out in the UK. So really quick, we're going to be talking about the World Cup. And I just want to give a quick little intro, brief overview type of thing about the rules of the World Cup, because I know some people might not know how you get into the World Cup, because there's only 32 teams that get into the World Cup. Obviously, there's a lot more than 32 countries in the world. So there's a whole process that happens in between that. So really quick before we get into the meat of things, the World Cup happens every 4 years. By the way, guys, anyone, if I miss out on something, just add that in. World Cup happens every 4 years in a different nation around the world. The nation is chosen by putting in a bid towards FIFA. FIFA is the organization, like NBA, NFL. That's the organization that runs it. This year's World Cup is going to be held in Qatar. Countries from all continents are represented at the World Cup, and the countries go through qualification rounds in their respective continents to see who qualifies. Qualifiers are done in between each World Cup. Since it happens every 4 years, they have to go through the qualifiers within those 4 years to see who makes it. In the group stage, in the official World Cup, which is starting tomorrow as of the time of recording, there are 32 teams. Before getting into the typical knockout round tournament style, so like in NBA and NFL you got the playoffs, before getting into that you have to qualify out of your group. In each group there are 4 teams, and the top 2 go onto that playoff type style rounds. Each team from their respective group will face each other. A win counts as 3 points, a draw counts as 1 point, and a loss, you get nothing. And the top 2 from each group pass a knockout rounds, which is called the round of 16, which from that point forward, it's elimination style. I think I pretty much got everything. Anyone got anything I might have missed?
One really obscure little rule. If 2 teams in the group are evenly matched between goals scored, goals conceded, points, the lot, it goes to a penalty shootout between those 2 teams. It's a really weird thing that happens, and the winner gets 2 points. I did not even know that one. Goes to a penalty shootout. The winner gets 2 points. It also happens if those 2 teams are playing each other all the way at the end of the group, which is a weird thing. Otherwise, you end up playing one more match, and it's for 3 points.
Oh, wow.
It's a really weird school.
Fair enough. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
All right, So now that we know what the World Cup is, so what we're doing today is we're going to be going through each group, talking about each nation, their strengths, weaknesses, just a general conversation about each nation, essentially. And then we're going to give our predictions on each group. And towards the end, we're then going to talk about who we feel is our quote-unquote dark horse, so who we feel is an underdog in the tournament that has an outside chance of winning, and other little accolades like that, which we'll talk about when we get there. So starting off, we are in Group A, which consists of Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and Netherlands. So let's actually talk about the hosts, Qatar. So really quick, I believe this is their first World Cup appearance.
Yeah, it is.
So it's their first World Cup appearance. So that already gives them, it depends how you view it. they're the hosts, so that could give them an advantage. But they also have inexperience at this top level. So it really it really depends on how you view it. But they do come into this in pretty good form. They beat Egypt in the Arab Cup to get to third place, which Egypt is one of the top teams from Africa at the current moment. And they got to third or fourth. I don't know, Danny, if you remember, in the Gold Cup.
Yeah, Qatar's been really buddy recently with FIFA. I mean, they were lucky enough to get the World Cup at their country. And they also participated in a North American competition, even though they're all the way in Asia. So, yeah, they're yeah.
So yeah, I think they lost. I think they got third place because they lost to the U.S.
Right.
by Zardes in like the 89th minute. So, but the thing is, the U.S. is a good team. It's a competitive team. So obviously they can keep up for the most part. Obviously they still have some disadvantages, but they could keep up. You got anything?
Yeah, they recently they've been through a massive change since getting the World Cup. I think that's the biggest thing. They've done a thing where they are finding any player overseas who have some sort of Qatari background. Alongside that, they've got in a manager who used to be La Masia manager.
Wow.
So he was in the Barcelona youth teams. He was a coach there. So the way that Qatar play, they're trying to get this Spanish style going. So they're doing really well. Recently, they've really improved. They've won the Asia Cup last time out. They beat Japan 3-1. So they're doing really well. And it's come at a good time with the World Cup now being hosted there. So whilst before, I think a lot of people thought real underdogs, probably not going to do well, bottom of the group, they've seen or shown that sort of growth that at a really good time.
Yeah, I think they'll be competitive. I personally don't think they're making it out the group, which we'll talk about that when we get to the predictions, but they will be competitive. I don't think people are going to sleep on them as much as they originally thought. They do have some players like this guy, Akram Afif, who is one of their, if not their key player, or their striker, Ali, who is prolific for them at the international level. Which, one big thing that people forget a lot of the time is international level and club level. And when we're talking about clubs, guys, it's like, think about for NBA and NFL people, think about, you have your respective teams. So you got people that play for the Lakers, you got people that play for the Suns, but they could get called up at the Olympics, for example, to play for the U.S. national team. So that's when we talk about club level, we're talking about their actual like team that they get paid for, blah, blah. And then you got the international level. So club level and international level are completely different. There are teams that you might see a bunch of mediocre on the field, but at international level, they are insane and they play great. So Qatar, for me, is definitely one of those players that I feel like no player necessarily stands out like crazy, but
As a unit.
they definitely, as a unit, yeah.
I think we saw this. A good example of this was actually Trinidad and Tobago, Aiden's team, back in 2006. Absolutely nobody thought they would qualify. They qualified and then did actually quite well. So yeah.
Fuck Peter George.
Peter. All right, so let's move on to
Real quick,
Ecuador.
Real quick. With Qatar, do you think with them facing a backlash of hosting it, with everything's going on, do you think that would like show to the team? Like, would that bring them down, bring the morale down for them?
Right. So I wasn't sure if I should have mentioned that, or if we could like just kept it like football. So yeah. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of the other teams are gonna want them to do bad. I feel like people are gonna want them out. And that could help them. That could give them motivation. I think having the World Cup in your country is always going to help. But I think there's a lot of negative looks towards them, or at least the country. Maybe not so much the national team, but I know people can get rowdy when it comes to the World Cup. So I just hope people are at least respectful when they're there. Yeah.
The way I look at it is I don't think they are gonna actually like care too much about the football team itself. I feel like it's more political in that aspect because everybody's been talking about like the whole debate about like the World Cup even being in Qatar. But to me, I feel like it's just most people are just gonna focus on the football at the end of the day. Like it's really just about the tournament, the event, rather than like the politics off the field. So I really don't think he'll phase the national team itself. Like I feel like they'll be fine. They'll play to probably the best of their ability, regardless.
I think the pressure will be there, but I think the pressure in itself is just being the host nation, not necessarily the political stuff that's going on behind it. I think it's very similar to a sport where a team has like a tycoon takeover, right? You have all this press that happens in the background. That team wants to sign every single player under the sun. You get that negative connotation that happens, but realistically, it doesn't affect the team because the team are there to do one thing and one thing alone. So, yeah.
Really quick before we move on to the next team, I just wanted to mention they are in good form going into this. They won their last 4 friendlies against Albania, Panama, Honduras, Guatemala. They drew against Chile. They drew against Slovenia, beat Bulgaria, beat Egypt. These are some decent teams that have some decent players. So they definitely shouldn't be taken lightly, and I think they can take advantage if some teams get a little too complacent. And really, another thing I wanted to mention was the conditions, weather conditions. I don't know if you guys seen on Twitter. People for the English national team, they are dying out there.
Yep.
And we'll talk about them when we get there. But almost the whole of the Qatari national team plays in the Qatari domestic league.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they are used to that. So while everyone is over there getting water, tired, they're gonna be like, "Yo, what's good? Like, let's keep it going." So they do have that as an advantage. But the next team that we're gonna be talking about is Ecuador. I don't know, Danny. Did you want to talk about Ecuador at all?
Yeah, for sure. I have a lot of stuff about Ecuador. Actually, I mean, I think we all know about the select few that are playing in Europe right now, especially the ones in the Prem. Caicedo and Stupinan doing really well at Brighton. But they have some other players playing in Europe right now. They also have Palacios and Cifuentes, who just won the MLS Cup with LAFC. So they have a solid defense and a solid midfield. We're going to have to see if Valencia can show up and score goals for them. But I think it's going to be hard to score against them for sure.
I actually think Enter Valencia is going to have a good tournament. He goes into this, and the only reason I searched it up to all my FIFA viewers or FIFA gameplay people, he recently got it in form. So I got curious, and in 11 appearances for Fenerbahce out in Turkey, he has 12 goals.
Wow.
So, yeah. So he's scoring a goal a game, and he always performs at international level. So if he's taking that club form to Ecuador, which this is probably one of the strongest Ecuadorian teams we've seen since they've pretty much burst into the scene, whatever tournament, 2014 or 2010, whichever tournament it was. They got Hinchipe, or I believe his name is, from Bayern Leverkusen. Good defender. So, yeah, and let's not forget, they finished top 4 to qualify in South America. So they finish over the likes of Chile, which has always been a competitive team. Peru, Colombia, which, Colombia not being at this tournament in itself is like a huge thing. So to finish over teams like that definitely shows that there's quality within their team. Aiden, anyone?
Yeah, I think they've got a really good balance of young players and old players. So Enner Valencia, for those that don't really know about him, played in the Premier League a couple of years ago. When I say a couple of years, I mean about 10. He's 33 now. He's one of these players that sort of fell off the radar, and then as you're looking through it, you're like, he still exists.
Yeah.
Like, he's still a guy. So, like Steven said, he's someone who's in really good form as well. They've got some really good young players like Caicedo that was mentioned earlier, playing for Brighton, sort of almost came out of nowhere. Really good purchase by them. So, really good mix of youth and age. And I think that shows in how they play as well. So, they've got what we call like a variable press. You get some teams that like to push onto the teams like really quickly, really fast. These aren't one of them, and they're quite a direct team, so you won't see like these short, intricate passes. You'll see them play quite long, and I think that's because of the team that they have. They've got some good pace and some really good young midfielders that can vary it up. So they're a team to watch out for.
Yeah, and they have a lot of players in Europe. Let's also Plata, who plays out in La Liga, one of their wingers as well. That's another one. So these are, again, which I think we're going to see a lot more, and has been a lot more common recently, is that a lot of these countries, when we get to the US, Danny will talk about that as well. There's a lot of these obscure countries that are getting a lot of talent out in Europe now. And for those of you that don't know, Europe is probably the best place to play football or to play soccer. The leagues over there are just so much more competitive compared to the MLS. Even though the MLS is growing, over there it's just still miles better. One concern that I do have for Ecuador is that they've been, even though they do have the capability of scoring, they have been goal shy recently. They haven't scored in their last 3 friendlies, and then they only beat Cape Verde. Sorry, that's like a Portuguese thing. But they only beat them 1-0. So like Cape Verde aren't really the best of teams. So if they do bring that form into this tournament, then they'll struggle. But yeah, I think we're gonna move on to Senegal next. And Aiden, I don't know, do you want to just introduce Senegal, talk about it a little bit?
Senegal, they are a good team. They have a lot of players out in Europe right now, all over the place. They have the likes of Ismail Sarr playing for Watford in the second division, just got relegated, of England. You also have players like Idrissa Gana Gueye, very prolific, been around for a while, good central defender. And you have like the big boys at the back, Edouard Mendy, Kalidou Koulibaly playing for Chelsea right now. Those are probably like their main players because they're literally just insane right now, in great form, and are probably going to be like the main people for the team, you know?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Mane is injured. Sadio Mane. That's probably their biggest player ever to come out of there. He plays for Bayern Munich, is having an insane season for Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich is one of the top 5 teams right now in Europe. So that's definitely going to be a big miss for them. There was a lot of talk about if he would be fit in time. And unfortunately, I think the news came out yesterday or 2 days ago saying that he will not be there. You got anything on them?
Yeah, I think they've got a good, solid squad. So whilst they've lost their best player, and I'm talking literally probably one of the best players on the planet,
right?
They still won the African Cup of Nations, right? Or the African Cup. So there's still a very, very good squad by beating Egypt in the final, I believe it was, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
But they've got, again, really good players like was mentioned previously. They've got Edouard Mendy in goal. Again, another player who plays for Chelsea. That's essentially like, I don't know, like LA Lakers. I want to say Chelsea are like buying really good players constantly. Yeah. That's how I see it, being from the UK. So they've got a really, really good squad. A good player to watch out for. They've got a guy called Ballo Touré. He's a left back, right? What you'll see him push up along the left wing a lot. Really, really good left back. Like, out of all the top squads, he's probably one of the best left backs that's not spoke about a lot. So watch him. He's a big, big part of their attack. What you'll see like Idrissa Gueye, who's a ball winner, like sort of fill into his position at left wing. at left back, sorry, and then you'll sort of see this four in attack. Really good squad. They're fun to watch going forward. So another thing, I feel like these African teams have got that advantage of the heat as well. African teams, South American teams, I think that's the one thing we've got to remember. I think we're going to see these teams that not really are spoken about actually do quite well because they'll adapt to the conditions so much easier. So yeah.
I agree. And then finally, we'll try to keep it short and simple because I feel like they might be everyone's favorite to win the group, and we have a lot of teams to talk about. Netherlands. Netherlands are Netherlands. End of the day, they've had a couple shaky tournaments recently, being left out of, what was it, the Euros or the World Cup. They had a huge transition period, but Van Gaal is back as their manager, which I did not know, which explains their recent form. They have a lot of young guys coming through the ranks now, mixed with a bit of experience. Gakpo, that everyone's talking about, everyone wants. He plays for PSV out of Netherlands, but every big team in Europe wants him. He has 26 goal contributions in 18 appearances. That's nuts. That is absolute from the wing. He's not even a striker. That is nuts. That's like Ronaldo, Messi type numbers. This, like, obviously it's the Eredivisie, so we can't use that, but that's the type of numbers he's pushing. But he performs at national level from what I've seen as well. And it's weird because I was paying attention. He kind of plays as like a cam in their system. I don't know if Van Gaal is going to play that type of system at the World Cup, but he plays behind the two strikers. He doesn't play out on the wing because Van Gaal prefers, I'm pretty sure it's like a 5-back variation. So he keeps Gakpo as that cam, and he plays he plays really well. Anyone want some quick thoughts?
Just quick, I've watched a couple of their last games very quickly. So the way Gakpo, he's one of my players to watch for this team. I know it's a little bit early, but I'm going to throw it out there right now. But one of the things he does, so they play a 3-back, three centre backs. They've got a player who plays for Man City and Liverpool, two of the best teams on the planet, in Ake and Van Dijk as well, two really, really good centre backs. But what you'll see Gakpo do, this is one of the really nice things. So he'll start off in strike with Memphis Depay. And what you'll see is Gakpo sort of drop back, and then you'll see they've got a winger called Bergwijn who plays for, I don't know if he still plays for Tottenham. He might have left.
No, Ajax.
Yeah, Ajax. He plays for Ajax now, yeah. And what you'll see Bergwijn just sort of come into that second sort of striker role with Gakpo. Really, really good attacking lineup. So, yeah, good team to watch if you're interested in a fun game of football. They're a good team to watch. Or soccer, I should say soccer.
How do we talk about Netherlands without mentioning Frankie de Jong?
Frankie de Jong, yeah.
He's been in a lot better form. As you can see, I'm a Barca fan, so I can speak about this confidently. But he had a rough start to the season. Wasn't starting games consistently because Xavi chose Gavi over him, which at the time made sense. Like, I don't discredit it, but coming down recently because of the drop-off of Busquets reaching like the end of his career, he's been picking back up form, and I think if he carries that form to the World Cup, which he's been on recently, he'll be insane. Because he's been so good, like, at just ball carrying, picking up the ball in those half spaces and just pushing up the field, distributing it to the wingers or the strikers. It's just so good. He's so good.
What I'm noticing is that in Group A, every team there has a solid defense. And I'm wondering if it's going to be entertaining. I'm hoping it's not going to be stalemate games, but I'm looking at Senegal. It's going to be hard to score against them. Ecuador, a lot of the key players we mentioned are defenders or midfielders who can defend. Netherlands, they have the best defender in the world. So I'm hoping that all of these teams can find their attacking players and have them perform, because I feel like we all know that their defense is going to be solid. So, yeah.
All right, now really quick because we got to move on. Who do you think is making it out the group? My pick is Netherlands, top of the group, and I actually have Ecuador second. I don't think Senegal's making it out. After the injury to Sadio Mane.
Really?
I have a inkling of Ecuador getting through second place. Yeah, how about you guys? Just really quick.
I'll say Netherlands, Ecuador, not Ecuador, Senegal. And I feel like Senegal seems just too stacked. Like, without Mane, like, I feel like it's still a proper team. And like I feel like you could just tell that the team plays as a team rather than like just focus on money.
Right.
Obviously, it's a big miss, but at the end of the day, I still feel like they'll be fine.
And Danny, you guys pretty much same thing. Agree with either one of ours, or do you think Qatar's making it through, or Netherlands isn't making it through?
No, I think it's a split up between Senegal and Ecuador for second. But like I said, all the teams there are going to be good defensively. So it's really about whether the Senegal forwards or Ecuador forwards show up. For me, there's a big boots to fill at Senegal. I don't know. I'm going to go Senegal, though. I think Ecuador's going to make the games entertaining, but I don't know if they'll go through.
I think Ecuador will finish bottom of the group.
Wow. Okay. Fair.
Crazy.
I have a feeling that I think with the opening game, Qatar hosting, I think they'll win that first game. I reckon it's going to be a close game. It's going to be 1-0. But it depends. I think if Qatar can get a good win, right, you'll see them play really well against the bigger teams. Where if they lose, they will go into a shell, right? But my top two is going to be Senegal, and it's going to be Netherlands. Netherlands being top.
Before we move on, are you done? Sorry.
No, go on.
Yeah. Before we move on, I just want to quickly say that there's been rumors about potential match fixing between Qatar and Ecuador, and people are suggesting that there've been there's 7 million some players on Ecuador to throw the game for them. For them to lose 1-0. That's gonna be crazy if that actually happens, because the whole world's just gonna look at that game and be like, something's up if it really happens.
Yeah.
But
I don't. Something tells me that it won't, though. I don't know. I've heard a lot about it, but I don't.
Too big
yeah,
of a state.
Yeah,
So Group B, again, we got to get through these because there's a lot of groups.
there is.
England, Iran, USA, Wales. England. I know it makes sense to start with but I'm actually gonna have Aiden talk about England. So
which is very valid, because England were my team for the Euro 2020 last year. England have a very interesting. They have a very good squad. That's what I want to start with. They obviously one of the home of football, people like to call it. Very young squad, a lot of upcoming players. I feel like the core group that they have right now is like a group that it's the best thing you could wish for in a national team, where everyone is like growing at the same time, and like they're just all gonna develop into a solid squad once they keep it up. Made it to the final of the Euros. My thing with England, though, I don't like their coach, Gareth Southgate. I feel like the style of play, I feel like he's just wasted so much potential. Like, you have players like Foden, Rashford, Saka, Sterling. Like, those are players that you want to just be using to attack, and it's just so defensive minded. I don't know. That's just my opinion, though. But I do expect them to do well. So
yeah. What's it called? Harry Kane does go into this in good form. I think he. We were talking about this before. I believe he's second top goal scorer in the Premier League right now, with 12 goals and 15 appearances. And then Aiden did mention Foden, Saka. We got these young, tricky youngsters that they can play anywhere along the pitch. You'll see them often interchange, I feel like, because they can so often. Maybe Saka might stay on the right a little more, but you'll see Foden tend to go to the middle and then go out wide. You'll see him floating around, which will mess around with them. And they're unbeaten in qualifiers to qualify for the World Cup. They were unbeaten. But there's just that inconsistency of England at major tournaments, and their current form have been a little shaky as the English representative.
I think shaky is an understatement. Drew and lost against two teams in Hungary and Poland that we really should have beat. England's issue. Okay, so let's get this straight up, right? If you guys are watching the World Cup for the first time and you think, let's watch England, right? Premier League's there. England's a really good team to watch. Don't do it. Right? You're making a mistake. Let me just say this right now. England are the most boring team to watch on this planet.
Literally.
They do something called a mid-block, right? So all they try and do is block out the middle of the pitch, hold possession. If you have the ball, the opposition obviously can't score. The issue is that they go for a 1-0 and then they'll just sit back. So you'll see them get the first goal. If it's early, just watch something else. Go do something else, because England will sit there for the rest of the tournament, right, trying to just hold the ball. It's really boring. There's been some controversial call-ups in Harry Maguire. Some players who haven't been in form have hardly played for their club teams and still getting an international call-up. It's interesting to say the least. We've seen that Southgate, when he first took over, was like, this big thing was, I'm not going to pick players based on their reputation. Going into this tournament, we've seen players get picked based on their reputation.
Literally.
And I was saying to the guys, right, I'm not seeing the hype for the World Cup like I normally am. And it's because I think it's quite sad, but the entire nation just doesn't, they don't see the team actually progressing. And I think that's the sad thing, where, normally we're singing It's Coming Home. We've got songs for days about trying to win tournaments and bring some glory back. Unfortunately, I think our team is just too boring. It's just so slow. It's unbelievable. We've got some fantastic players. One to look out for is Jude Bellingham, who plays for Borussia Dortmund. He's lined up with some really big moves to the Premier League coming back. And the issue is that he's a player that when he gets forward, he's fun to watch. He's one of these, he's a ball carrier. He just sort of mesmerizes you with his dribbles, but he's a really good ball winner. But what you're going to see for England is you'll just see him hold. You won't see him be able to explore. It's a very rigid format. So that's going to be the downfall for England. I think they'll qualify out of the group, but it's not going to be fun.
To see people like Fikayo Tomori get completely ignored.
No.
When you just won the Serie A for AC Milan. They haven't won the Serie A in years because Juventus has been dominating that, and you don't get the call up is absolutely ridiculous. But Harry Maguire, who's probably made 2 appearances all season so far, gets the call up.
That's it. You've got really good players who can go out and attack, have fun. You've got really good centre backs in John Stones, who plays for Man City, which is probably one of the best teams in the world at the moment. And then Tomori, who plays for AC Milan and just won the league, but doesn't get a call up over someone who's sitting on the bench. Yes, I genuinely believe that some players have an impact. They have this drive where you're a leader. You're a natural leader. It doesn't matter how you're playing or where you're playing. If you're not playing or playing, you still get called up because of that. But I think in Maguire's case, we've just seen he's made mistake after mistake after mistake. And it just seems like he, instead of, World Cup's around the corner, we need to improve, you've just seen him fall. And then he gets called up. So whilst being an inspirational player, yeah.
All right. So
can't understand it.
Yeah, we do got to pick up the pace a little bit.
Wait, so one more thing though. Hold on, one more thing. Their best player is Jack Grealish. All right, continue.
I'm gonna leave that. 100 mil flop, but that's besides the point. 100 mil flop. Anyway, so moving on really quick because we do have to pick up the pace. So USA, Danny. Let me hear it. Let's leave this to Danny.
US is a big one. I think a lot of eyes are on the US right now. It's a golden youth era. But to be honest, it's not what we need for our squad. I feel like we have the youth, but I think we need core players who are experienced. So what Berhalter's doing is he wants to play a team that plays from the back. We saw that against all the games against Mexico, which we won, and it's worked. But then calls up people, our defenders, that do not usually play the ball at the back for their club, like Zimmerman playing at Nashville. He's a great defender. When there's John Anthony Brooks, given he's been iffy, but he has European experience and plays at a team currently that plays from the back, and is comfortable with passing the ball in the back. But yeah, the youth players is what everybody's excited about. Pulisic, McKennie, Dest. Ricardo Pepi did not get called up. A lot of people are talking about that. But yeah, the youth squad is what everybody's excited about. The young, hungry team. But whether or not they can perform at the World Cup, I don't know. Whether they have a consistent goal scorer, I don't know. I think it'll be a fun team to watch, but I'm not sure if they'll get performances and points out or not.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Pulisic needs to turn up. He's been out of form a little bit recently for Chelsea. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's all about form. Let's see if they bring it. I'm gonna really quickly talk about Iran and Wales super quick. We're gonna talk about our prediction super quick and then move on. So Iran, I did a bit of research on them. They only conceded 2 goals the last World Cup, which was a group that consisted of Portugal, Ghana, I believe it was, and I forget who the third team was. So they're very unlucky to not have gone through. I think the main reason they did not go through is because Portugal equalized from a Quaresma Trivela goal from outside the box. Literally the only reason. They have a Portuguese manager there, Carlos Queiroz. He was the previous Portuguese national team manager, so he knows how to run a team. He's gotten teams to the World Cup multiple times, so he knows how to make them work as a unit. They have players like Taremi, who have been going crazy for Porto in the Champions League and in the Portuguese domestic league. They do have a bit of a lack of top league performers, which is where we might see the discrepancy between some of the other teams, overall at least. But they have a good core, good manager, and good experience, so it'll be interesting to watch them. And then really quick, Wales. Again, Bale is getting to the tail end of his career, but they have people like Brennan Johnson, Kiefer Moore, who's doing decent for Bournemouth, Nico Williams, Dan James, whose pace is absolutely insane. So they have these players that, even though Bale and Ramsey are still that experienced, those experienced players in the team, they have a good core now, I feel like, or a core that's playing a bit more Premier League football, that are playing at a top level. Whether they're going to be able to play together as a unit or not, we'll see. But they do put everything on the line. Bale, at the end of the day, we saw with the MLS final, he hasn't been performing, but he's still that player that makes magic and makes something out of nothing. So you can't ignore that. Yeah, you can't ignore that. So really quick, our predictions. No explanations. For me, I have England and Iran going through. I
got England and Wales.
England and Wales. Interesting. How about you guys? Really quick, no explanation. Just send it.
England, America.
Okay. Danny.
England, USA.
And all.
USA, Wales.
Wow.
Interesting.
Okay. Very interesting.
You're bugging.
Wow, interesting.
You said no explanation.
Yeah, no explanation because All right. Group C: Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland. Again, we're gonna try to just pick up the pace. Argentina. Aiden, really quick. Come on, Messi fan. Let's go.
Lionel Messi is carrying this team to the final. They're gonna win. But I'll just quickly say, Argentina's always been a team that has struggled as a core, and recently you see that with the Copa America, their recent Copa America win, and how they've been playing. They have been undefeated for, I can't remember how long it is, but they're basically on a run right now, and I don't see that stopping right now. Messi's in great form. The team is playing like a team. Their coach you could see that they have an objective, and the players are achieving what he wants. Like it's honestly probably like the most entertaining national side right now for me personally that I would say like to watch. Like if you want to watch a game and enjoy it, watch Argentina because it's gonna be fun. But the GOAT is there. This is his tournament. This is all he's ever talked about wanting, and I feel like he's on a mission this year. And if there's any chance that they're gonna make it, it's gonna be this year.
And they have a good core of players. They really do. And they won the Copa America 2021. This is Messi's last hurrah at the international level, I feel like. So let's see how that goes. Poland, I'm going to talk about Poland really quick. They had a good qualification. They beat Ukraine in the playoffs, I believe it was. So through qualification, some teams go through a playoff round because there's just so many teams. So they beat Ukraine in playoffs, and they have Lewandowski, who's best striker in the world, if not, or at least has been for the last 5-6 years. Holland is he's chasing him, but Lewandowski is 30-something, 33 to 35. Oh, and Benzema, yeah. I mean, you're fair enough. But Poland have Zielinski playing for Napoli, who are top of Serie A. And they have a youngster called Zaluski, which I've been seeing everywhere, which is a young player to look out for. They have a solid core. They're energetic. But what I did find out is that they have a new head coach who's still trying to figure out a system for them, which could work or it could go terribly wrong, I feel like. Saudi Arabia, how are you feeling?
Good team. They're one of they've got the advantage that they are almost a host nation in the sense that they are neighbors of Qatar. They understand the football. They're going to play. They've put a lot of money into their leagues since the new sheikh took over a couple of years ago. There's been a lot of reform in Saudi, and you've seen that in the sports as well as the politics internal in the country. They've really progressed. So good team, and I think they'll actually do quite well. And
Danny, Mexico.
Yeah, I think Mexico are in a dry phase right now. They haven't won anything throughout the COVID area from 2019 to now. No tournament wins, which is crazy for them because they have been the consistent kings of North America. So, a dry period for them. But one thing I can say is that they're still in the World Cup, and every time they go to the World Cup, they always perform better than usual. And I don't know what it is about the World Cup, but every time they're there, they put on a show. So I feel like they'll put on a show. But whether or not they'll go far, I'm not sure. I doubt it. But they'll be a fun team to watch at the very least. They always have the passion. So
really quick before we give our predictions, they have been struggling with injuries. Oh my gosh, what is his name? Jesus Corona out. And a couple of others. I think Jimenez might be injured. So there's a couple people that are injured. And I've watched them recently, and there's just like a lack of flair with them. They just, again, maybe in the World Cup they'll turn up. I believe they've made it to the round of 16 each of the last 5 or 4 World Cups they've been in. So they get out the group stage every single time. So again, we might see a turn in form. Who knows? I have Argentina and Poland making it out, though.
Same.
And how are you,
Argentina, Mexico. Just a very, very, very quick thing. We've got to also remember that the next host nations are going to be North America, which is Mexico, the US, and also Canada. I think you're going to see these 3 teams actually do quite well purely because they're going to be the next host nations.
Fair enough. All right, Group D. France, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. I'm gonna start off. Actually, you can start off with Denmark really quick.
Oh my god, what a team! Really, really weird, right? They've got some fantastic players in there. They've got Damsgaard. They've got some young, fun players. They're one of these teams, right? They're one of these nations that won't do well, right? But they've got Christian Eriksen, who had a heart attack on the pitch and came back to play football. Like, if this nation doesn't do well because of this, it's the end. That's it. We're done. Like, he's one of these, to see a player literally die, right, and come back, get released from a top team, have a chance with a smaller team, and then end up playing top-tier football again with Manchester United. He's one of these players that is just going to spur the team on. They've also got Kasper Schmeichel, who used to be my team, Leicester City, used to be our goalkeeper, absolute leader on the pitch. They've got some really good defenders, really good midfielders, and half-decent strikers. So expect Denmark to do well.
And I'm going to run through this group pretty quick because pretty much it's pretty straightforward, guys. I hope that's okay. Really quick, also with Denmark, they beat France the last 2 times they've played each other, by the way. Yep. So that's huge. They have a solid core. Højbjerg is in form for Spurs, even though Spurs aren't really, they're a bit inconsistent. Højbjerg has been playing amazing. And they're always like a dark horse, I feel like. But I feel like that pressure might get to them just a tiny bit. but we'll see. We have France. There's no introduction needed. Former World Cup winners. You got Mbappe. There's a lot of injuries going on at that club, but it's France at the end of the day. They do have a young midfield coming in. Pogba and Conte are out, so I do think there's going to be some youngsters, Camavinga, Tchouaméni coming in, and to be honest, I think they're going to do pretty well. Overall, though, they did have a Poor Nations League, and like I said, they lost to Denmark, who's in their group their last 2 times of meeting, which was pretty recent. It wasn't that long ago. Tunisia. This is another World Cup for them. They have a couple people playing out in the Bundesliga. They have a youngster, which I didn't even know he switched to the Tunisian national team. He was French before, Hannibal, who was from Man United's ranks. He's now got called up for the Tunisian national team. So they have a good unit. They're creative. Overall ability, we'll see. Just because they don't have a lot of players playing at top levels. As far as the Big Five go, when I talk about the Big Five, by the way, guys, it's England, Germany, Spain, France. What am I missing? England, Spain, Germany,
Italy.
France, Italy. Those are the top 5 leagues. They don't have a lot of people playing in those leagues. And again, we have Australia, who barely made it in.
Australia, who are basically FC Scotland. Literally, almost their entire starting lineup either is Scottish or plays in Scotland. So, yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Actually, there's a guy I know personally who I used to play COD with, Ali Sutar. His cousin plays. One of them plays for Scotland, and the other one actually plays for Australia.
Oh, wow, the Sutar guys, yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. And then I have Denmark finishing top of the group, actually. And I have France second. How about you guys, really quick?
Yeah.
I have France.
It's interchangeable, but it's France, Denmark going to the next round for sure, right?
Yeah. I think this is one of the most easiest groups to call.
Yeah,
for sure.
Bobby Cosry's gonna Cruyff turn on the France defense and score a last minute winner, I'm sure.
And now we have Group E. We're probably gonna speed through this one so we could talk about the last couple of groups a little more in depth, guys. So we have Spain, Costa Rica, Germany, and Japan. Aiden, talk about Spain real quick.
I was waiting. Spain, bro. People sleep on Spain, but I feel like they have such a good team. Their coach, Luis Enrique, he was a Barca manager, so I'm obviously biased. I mean, I'm biased anyway because half the team is from Barca. But like he's such a good coach, and I feel like the way he he makes his teams play is perfect for international level because you saw that when Barca won the treble in 2015. Yeah, in 2015, and I don't know, the core group of players that they have right now, another team with a bunch of young upcoming players. You have Ansu, Ferran Torres, Pedri, Gavi, literally like just the whole lot of them. Alex Balde just got called up because Jose Gaya is no longer in the
saw that.
in the squad. Like I really think that Spain are gonna go far this World Cup. They had a good Euro last year. If it wasn't for like I don't know, they were just missing like that oomph. And I feel like with Ansu coming back now into the team, he's gonna be. Hi, go on.
One quick fact: Spain are the only team to win a World Cup outside of Europe. The only European team to win a World Cup outside of Europe, that was in 2010. So maybe expect good things because of the way they play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, to sum it up, Spain are a good team. They're gonna win. They're gonna go far.
Pedri and Gavi were my main people to look at. Gavi just won. What was it? What's the Golden Boy? Golden Boy. Every year they choose the best youth player in the world. Gavi got chosen. He's only 17 or 18, and he's playing for the Spanish national team at the World Cup. That is absolutely insane. Yeah. So I still think that they're missing a true, consistent, out-and-out striker, but I do think they're going to do pretty well. Germany, I'm going to talk about them really quick. I'm biased. I hate the German national team. They beat Portugal every single time, and I hate it. But they are a good team. At the end of the day, they're going through a transition period. They lost a lot of their golden era boys that from between 2006 to 2014 were like running the show. 2018, we saw them struggling a little bit. Excuse me. So they do have youngster Musiala in the squad though. They do have a couple of young bucks, but they don't have. They have players that are playing at top leagues: Sane, Gnabry, Musiala, all at Bayern. But I feel like something's missing from them, and I don't know what it is. They're going in with a bit of inconsistency as of lately. I feel like the manager also doesn't know who to choose for the national team sometimes. He's been choosing a lot of random people here and there. He's been testing it out in the Nations League. Nations League, I know they take it serious, but they also take it as a chance to give young players minutes and test out different systems, etc. But yeah, and then we have Japan. Danny, you want to talk about Japan really quick?
Sure. Japan's always a fun team. Everybody wants Japan to do well, and they're having a little era of youngsters coming out, a lot of which are in the Bundesliga. But yeah, I want them to do well. It's a scary group with Germany and Spain, so I'm not sure they'll get out. But I think everybody wants Japan to do well. Kamada probably being their key player. But yeah, they're gonna bring a lot of fun, and I think it'll be an entertaining team to watch if that's what you want to see. If you want to see entertainment, you watch a Japan game for sure.
Yeah, they have Kamada, Minamino, Kubo. They have a bunch of players that play in Europe, which they usually typically do. And they have Tomiyasu, who plays for Arsenal, Alm's team, who's been pretty decent. I don't know if I think Ben White's been starting, right, at right back.
Yeah, but Tomiyasu has been playing left back instead.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful. Really, really good.
There you go. And then I'm going to talk about Costa Rica really quick because I want to talk about these last two groups, which are pretty interesting groups. Or no, sorry, we have last three, but one of them we're going to go in a little more detail about. Then we have Costa Rica. They have a decent string of results. They beat New Zealand to get here, but New Zealand isn't really, they have some players that play at top level, but they're kind of like whatever. I believe they beat them 1-0. Not to disrespect anyone from New Zealand, but you just know your national team is not all that. If we're being quite honest. They are always a surprise at the World Cup. They do have a lot of their old guys. Joel Campbell, who used to play for Arsenal. Borges, who was there. Danny, is Castellanos from Costa Rica? Or am I
Brian Ruiz is the
Brian
big
Ruiz.
one. Keylor Navas is still there.
Navas.
Waston is still there, who played for Vancouver Whitecaps. He was always a solid
center back.
One name I do want to mention, though, is Juison Bennett. He's playing at Sunderland right now, and he's 18 years old. He got a call up for Costa Rica. Very weird to see a Costa Rican playing in the second division of England. So if he gets game time, I want to see him, make a name for himself and get eyes on him because he's 18 years old. And yeah, so if there's any chance for him to get some spotlight on him individually, this is his time, but I don't think as Costa Rica as a team is going to perform well.
I think I think Spain finishes top. I feel like Germany finishes second.
Agreed.
Anyone? Okay, Danny, how about you?
Agreed.
What I want is Spain and Japan. What I think is Spain, Germany.
And on.
I agree, but Costa Rica always do really well at the World Cup. They've got an upset in them. Consistently throughout the previous ones. And Japan also are one of these teams that they have really good work rate, and sometimes they can outwork their opposition.
Japan.
Do you know what? It's really just very, very quickly. Every single World Cup that we've been in previously, right? When Japan play, Stephen and I and Danny, we are constantly keeping an eye on them because they've always had a Japanese player play for Leicester, so we've always had a little bit of an interest. And Brian Oviedo for Costa Rica plays for Real Salt Lake as well, so another MLS player for you guys if you want to keep an eye on.
So now we're getting to some bigger groups here. We're also going to try to just roll through it though. Group F: Belgium, Canada, Morocco and Croatia.
One of my
Aiden,
favorite groups.
you want to talk about Croatia at all?
Croatia.
I'll talk about Croatia if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Key player Modric, of course. It might be his last tournament. Most likely going to be his last tournament. One key player that they've always had a consistent reliance in all the other international tournaments is Mandzukic, but he's not there anymore. So what they need to do is fill his role. I was looking at their recent performances, and it's been on and off. They've all been really low-scoring games, and a lot of the goals have been from midfielders or just like people substituted. There's no consistent goal scorer, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they don't have anybody to fill that Mandzukic role, or they do, but they have to make sure that they get that out of them.
I'm just going to add to that at the moment. There's a striker called Kramaric who used to play for Leicester, didn't work out for him, but now plays for Hoffenheim. He is putting up the same numbers Lewandowski normally would in the Bundesliga this season.
Wow.
He has been amazing. I'm pretty sure in roughly about the same amount of time that they've both been playing in the Bundesliga, Kramaric is the third top goal scorer, like Lewandowski being number one. So, Good player to watch out for.
We got Belgium, who still have... I know Aiden loves De Bruyne.
Yeah.
That's his guy. De Bruyne is probably, personally, to me, probably top 3 best footballers at the moment. Like, he's insane. The passes that he can pick are absolutely disgusting. Like, and it's consistent. It's not a one-off. They have, I don't know, is Lukaku fit? I forgot to check that out. Does anyone know if Lukaku
He has
fit?
an injury mark on him on FootMob.
I think he's good to go, though.
He's got a knock for the first game, but he'll basically be fit for the second and third. So he should be fit for the knockout.
And they have a good bunch all over the pitch, attacking, midfield, defense. Yeah, they have a good bunch.
International Leicester City will, I think, do well.
Yeah, literally.
we have 3 of the players that start playing for my team. So, Wout Faes, who has been outstanding, by the way. But I think he'll be on the bench, Wout Faes, because they've got some old centre backs that they like to use. But okay, Siri has found something as well. But yeah, no, really good team. Really good. I'm so excited.
Canada, first World Cup. Yeah, I know. I'll let you talk about them a little bit.
Yeah.
First World Cup since 1986. They have a bit of a golden generation, though. Just like USA, they have a lot of players starting to move from the MLS or from Canada, going to Europe. Alphonso Davies obviously being the standout player. We have Buchanan and Larin out at Club Brugge. Buchanan being the younger of the two. Eustáquio, which is a Portuguese-Canadian, but he chose to represent Canada because he probably wasn't going to get into the Portuguese national team mold. And then Jonathan David, who let's not forget, literally won Ligue 1 with Lille a couple years back, over PSG, which PSG has been dominating that. And then really quick, Dan, I'm going to let you talk about Canada. I'm just going to talk about Morocco really quick. Then you got Morocco. Good team overall. New coach as well, similar to Poland, who's still trying to find a system for them. And they have players like Boufal, Hakimi. They have a really good keeper recently, Banu. Sorry if I butchered that name. Who's really solid. But overall, they're still lacking, I feel like, that edge to them, personally. Danny, go into detail about Canada a little bit and then our predictions.
Not so much that they've contributed too much, but Buchanan and Larin are part of a Club Brugge team that are going to the next round in the Champions League. Right. So they're part of a great run right now in club level as well. Jonathan David consistently being voted for being player of the month each time in League One. Eustáquio is going to control the midfield. Hutchinson is still there. And there's a lot of Montreal players, so they do have a lot of players in the MLS going there and starting and making a name for themselves. One big name that I really want to bring up is Ismail Kone, who plays for Montreal right now. He's an attacking midfielder. And I don't think he's going to stay in the MLS for much longer. I think he's going to be this is going to be his tournament where he'll shine and make a move, because he's been insane in the MLS, and internationally I think he's going to do great. Canada's a fun team.
Really quick, just so the viewers know, we're getting through this just because there's a lot of teams. Once the group stage is done and we have the knockout rounds, we'll be able to go a lot more in depth and take a little more time on some of these teams as well, just so you know. But we do have to just give a brief overview on all of them. Honestly, I know Canada have a lot of momentum at the moment, but I don't see them edging over Croatia, Belgium to get out of this group. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that.
Yeah,
I think Morocco have a shout, but yeah.
Yeah, Morocco, again, any team that's at this World Cup, they're there for a reason. You know what I'm saying? I when I say that teams lack a certain pedigree, I don't even mean to disrespect them in any sort of way. But when you compare Morocco's team to Croatia or Belgium's team, there's just such a large gap in quality, I feel like.
I don't think you can compare to Belgium. I think you can compare to Croatia.
Really?
I genuinely think you can. Yeah. Roman Sai's really, really good player. Boufal, again, Premier League players. You've got Hakimi, you've got Ziyech. You've got players
I forgot about him.
who literally can just pull a team along. So yeah, and they've got players around them that support the way they play. So yeah.
All right, final two groups: Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. Brazil, they are an insane team right now, all over the pitch. Vinicius Jr., Neymar, Paqueta. They still have Thiago Silva in there. They have Marquinhos. Like, their team is absolutely insane, and I feel like Brazil's morale is insanely high going into this tournament.
You see the dances?
High.
I know you see the dances.
Is ridiculous. Yeah. Their chemistry is ridiculous. I believe, if I am not wrong, that they finished top of their qualification group. It was either them or Argentina. I might be wrong. But they're just going in with good form. Injuries haven't really hit them. They have a lot of their top players. Neymar being one of the staple boys within the last couple of years. So
insane form right now. If he's back to his old ways, like prime boss of Neymar's, that's what he's looking like right now.
Their team is dirty.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
The team's just dirty. It's so good. Yeah. It's a cheat code.
Yeah.
There's no single weak player in that team.
Yeah. It's kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie. This is probably the most balanced Brazilian team we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, put it this way, right? Out of every single team we've pretty much mentioned so far, there hasn't been a player who's not been called up that you kind of go, maybe he should have been, right? Apart from England and a couple of centre backs, but Brazil have countless players who you're looking at going, oh, he could have been called up in every position. So yeah, really good team.
Talk about Switzerland. I know they got your boy Granit Xhaka over there.
What a player he's been this season.
Yeah, he's been insane.
Honestly, he was like on his way out, like absolutely insane. Switzerland are one of these teams that they have a good squad. They're a team that play well together. Not necessarily full of stars like Brazil, but that works in their favour. They haven't got these showboaters. I don't think Shaqiri's there at this World Cup. From the top of my head, he was the only one who was a real sort of a showboater.
I think so.
I think he might be. I know he had an injury recently.
Somebody else.
But at the same time,
I'm checking. Keep talking.
Yeah, they've got a really strong squad. They've got really good defenders. Not necessarily in the top 5 leagues again, but very close to being in the top 5 leagues. They have players who sort of play for these clubs just before the move to the top 5 league, if that makes sense. So yeah, they've got a really good squad. Just
Shaqiri is going, by the way.
He is going. Yeah, fine.
I expect to be honest
from that guy.
I was just curious, and I'm looking at their defenders right now, and I thought you were right, but I'm just gonna say some names really quick. Akanji, Elvedi, who plays for Mönchengladbach, Fabian Schär. Newcastle are freaking top 4 right now, which is insane. Ricardo Rodriguez is falling off a little bit. He's getting old, so I don't think he's in top 5 leagues right now. And Milson Fernandez, but it's good to have that experience. But then you got Sylvan Widmer, who I'm pretty sure is in the top. I think he's in the Bundesliga, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
But again, their standout is Akanji. No one's really playing for like a top team.
And they've got Briel and Bolo, who is like the FM and FIFA god from back in the day. So if you ever play FIFA, you'll know about Briel and Bolo. No, really, 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 really good squad. Like solid everywhere. Not stars, but just solid.
Then really quick, so like that we could talk about this final group, which I really want to spend a little more time on. Cameroon, don't sleep on them. And Gisa plays for Napoli. Again, Napoli are top of Serie A, and he's been in crazy form for them. Choupo-Moting is probably the most informed striker in Europe right now, believe it or not. With the last 5 games for Bayern Munich. I don't know how his agent even got him to Bayern Munich, but whatever. It doesn't make sense because he was flopping for Middlesbrough.
Everyone. He played for Stoke and where did he go?
Stoke.
PSG.
Like, this guy was so bad. He was defending his goal and he's a striker. Sorry.
Yeah. He got relegated with Stoke, gets a move to PSG. Doesn't make sense. Whatever. They got Toko Ekambi. They have good attacking players with a good defensive experience. And Kulu, if you guys remember, used to play for Marseille, Lyon. I don't know if you guys remember that. He's a center back. He's playing for them still. He'll bring that experience. He's still playing in Serie A. So they're always a good team. Cameroon are always a good team. Then you got Serbia with a good attacking core. I think that they will get past Switzerland, believe it or not. That's just a hunch. They got Vlahovic, Tadic, a lot of itches, Kostic, Mitrovic. These are good players.
Jovic.
I forgot about Luka Jovic. These are insane players, attacking-wise. Then in the midfield, they have Milinkovic, Savic. Marko Grujic plays for Porto. Maskimovic has always played in Europe. Zivkovic from Benfica, or ex-Benfica player, got the call-up. They have players. And all their keepers, I'm looking at it, besides their third one, play in La Liga. It's a good team overall. I have Brazil and Serbia going through.
Wait, one fun fact before we move on from Serbia. They have one player in their squad that does not end in itch.
Okay. Fun fact.
Who is that?
Go on.
Who's the player?
Nemanja Gudlic.
Gudlic used to play for Sporting, I believe.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Everybody else in itch.
He's in La Liga now, I believe.
Midfielder.
Yeah. They have a good squad. So I have Brazil, Serbia going through. I think Serbia's attack with Kostic, Tadic, and Vlahovic, I think edges Switzerland.
I also put Serbia on. I'm thinking.
These last 3 groups are... Go ahead.
I'm going Switzerland and Brazil.
Yeah, these last 3 groups are the most entertaining for me, for sure. This one, it's tough. My heart wants to say Brazil and Switzerland, though. I think Mbolo is going to go crazy.
There. If he stays fit.
And if Shaqiri can perform, if you look at any international cup, this guy scoring bicycle kicks, free kicks, just great. He's always doing something. So I want to go for Brazil, Switzerland.
Yeah, okay. I think Granit Xhaka's got a shot on him, so he's got a really good left foot. And expect to see that he will score at least one outside of the box goal.
It's funny because, believe it or not, while I was making my layout, I actually have Switzerland finishing bottom of the group.
Oh shit!
I actually think, I don't know. I think let me check really quick. We have a little bit of extra time. I believe it was their current form that scared me. Lost 2-0 to Ghana. You know what? They beat Portugal. They beat Spain. They beat Czech Republic. I'm a liar.
Ghana. We're going to move on to Ghana in a second, but if we want to start off with this way, Ghana are my. Oh, they are so good. They are so good. Like,
let's move on to the next group. Well, let's move on to the next group, and then if we have some extra time, we'll talk about some other miscellaneous things we might have missed. So Group H: Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, South Korea. For all you guys that don't know, and I mentioned it is Group of Death for sure. Portugal, one of the best teams in Europe. Uruguay, one of the best teams in South America. Ghana, one of the best teams in Africa. And South Korea, one of the best teams in Asia. It is literally the group of death. For all you guys that don't know, me, Danny, and will be going for Portugal. We support Portugal. I mean, he's from England, but he's a Portugal supporter as well. I'm gonna leave Portugal for last because I feel like since there's three of us here that have a lot to say about them, we're gonna leave that last. Let's talk about Uruguay. I think Uruguay finished top of this group over Portugal.
Same.
As much as I don't want to say it.
Same.
Valverde is going nuts for Real Madrid. Darwin Nunez, even though he's been showing a little bit more recently that he's adapting a tiny bit to the Prem and getting some goals in. Even though I still think
Andy Carroll role.
Yeah. Even though I definitely think Benfica finessed the heck out of Liverpool for that much money. And then they just have a good squad overall. They have Jimenez in the defense. Bentancur is in form for Spurs like no other. They just have a good team, man. And it's a mix of young, experienced players who are all at like the peak of their powers, I feel like.
Araujo might be playing. He's injured, but like they've been.
They called him up.
He's at the he's in the squad. Yeah, but I feel like there's a chance they might play him regardless.
Araujo starts. That's another. Araujo and Jimenez side by side is an insane defensive unit. And let's not forget, Uruguay beat Portugal the last World Cup, I believe it was, or the World Cup before that, whatever it was.
Given with Suarez and Cavani.
Suarez and Cavani, yes, they don't have that crazy finisher that they used to have, but I feel like they have a lot more of a solid team overall than back then.
Mm-hmm. Suarez and Cavani are both there, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, they are.
Oh.
They are. Alongside Darwin Nunez, they are. It's one song.
But they're not at their peak of their powers as what they were back then. You know what I mean? Cavani...
Suarez is a baller.
Yeah, you can't rule out Suarez. Like
he's going to get sent
how stinky he was, like that man can't find the back of the net. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. He's yeah.
And he will terrorize a defense regardless.
I can't wait to talk about Portugal. Though.
Yeah. Now we're gonna go off. You wanted to talk about Ghana really quick.
Yeah, man. What a squad! Like, if you look at the actual individual players within their team, they've got some really, really good ones. Also, the last time this happened was the Xhaka brothers. I believe it's the Xhaka brothers. But Inaki Williams, who will play for Ghana after never getting called up to the Spain squad, and the Spanish squad, who have Nico Williams, two brothers, very different age groups. I'll say that, but it's the first time in the World Cup for quite a while that this is going to happen. But Inaki Williams, very, very good player. Andre Ayew, who is sort of a Premier League player, but they've got Partey, who is one of the main players in the Arsenal midfield. They've got Salisu, who, oh my God, I don't know where this guy came from, but he's been fantastic for Southampton in the Premier League. They've got Baba Rahman, who used to play for Chelsea. Overall, they've just... Oh, and they've got Tariq Lamptey.
I was just about to say that. Tariq Lamptey got called up. He didn't choose England. Wow.
They did something very similar. So they did something very similar to what Qatar did and try and get players who necessarily aren't from Ghana but have heritage from Ghana, right? So they've done that and got some really, really good players because of it. So Tariq Lamptey, they managed to get him up. And they've got Semenyo. Oh my, I could go on for ages, and they've got Amati as well, who plays for Leicester, who's okay. Oh man, like just
Thomas Partey.
Yes, but what I will say is watch out for Dennis Odoi.
Okay,
he's plays for Fulham. Doesn't look the most amazing. Yeah, may play for Club Brugge now. Yeah, but what if you watch him for Ghana? He's a different player. He's very, very good for Ghana. Not to be confused with Callum Hudson-Odoi. They're not related.
And they also, and I'm looking at, they got Mohamed Kudus, who's a young guy from Ajax.
Yeah.
But they've got Soa. They've got Kamel Soa. Watch this guy.
I was going to say.
Watch this guy. Leicester.
He's from Leicester, right?
For 5 million. He used to. We sold him for 5 million, and he is fantastic in the Belgium league. He's really, really good. So again, another forward to watch out for. Could be making a big move, I think, after the World Cup. You see this happen quite a lot where you'll get this one player who will play very well and make a move, and I think that could be Soa.
And then we got South Korea, who undoubtedly best player out of South Korea, probably best player out of Asia, or one of the best players out of Asia, Heung-min Son. He is confirmed to be fit.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure he will be playing game 1. South Korea are a good team. They do have a lot of players that probably play in the Bundesliga is like their go-to place. I think because Bundesliga doesn't have that strict or doesn't have any work permit issues going over there. So that's like a big thing. If Heung-min Son goes in with the form that he's had for Spurs, South Korea are bottom of the group. That's my take. If he shows up for South Korea, they'll perform. Paulo Bento is, again, another former Portuguese national team coach, is their coach. Yeah, they have a solid core squad. A lot of them, which I was surprised to see, because I thought there was going to be a bit more of players from Europe, but he chose a lot of players that play in the K-League out in Korea, which genuinely could benefit them. When you see players coming from the same league a lot, especially from these nations like this, I feel like they always perform, and I feel like South Korea is one of those teams. Yeah, anyone have anything a little extra to say about them before we go on to the main team for us?
Shout out to a little Football Manager legend, Lee Kang-in. Really, really good player. However, you might not see him play too much. He's someone that likes to express himself, in South Korea are playing a very rigid style of football at the moment because of the coach. So maybe not see him play, or maybe see him come off the bench a little bit. But shout out to him for being a Football Manager legend.
All right, now Portugal.
Yep, we can note it.
Portugal. We have a decent amount of time. Yeah, Aiden. I'm gonna start it off really quick. Me and Om actually had a conversation like 2 weeks ago about this. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were talking about
we had to cut it short because we were like, let's save this. We need to save this.
Man. For Portugal, they have a brilliant squad, first and foremost. Again, I really like the group of players that are being brought in as like this new generation from Portugal. Hot take, I don't like Ronaldo playing for Portugal. Recently, at least. I feel like the team now, the way that this new generation plays doesn't play to the strengths of Ronaldo. Current Ronaldo. He's been a bit out of form. We know all the controversy with him recently with Man United, the interview that he's done.
Steven,
yes.
Question for you then, right?
Okay.
So you've done the hosting. It's time for a switch. So how do you personally feel about Ronaldo and that interview currently? How do you think it's going to affect the team?
You're gonna make me spin a little controversy here. So, I think it was wrong that he did it now. I do think it was a bit wrong for him to be calling out the coaches like that mid-season, whether it's for him to try and force a move or whatever the case is. But if you watch the interview, he really does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he is being a bit of a crybaby. And again, I started watching football because of Ronaldo. 2006 World Cup, I woke up one day, my whole family was watching the penalty shootout against England. He scored the winning goal. From that point on, it was clipped. It was just soccer from that point on for me. He does mention, though, that like a lot of stuff that he's calling out is the club. Man United are being run terribly compared to clubs around them. Their infrastructure compared to clubs around them, even though it's still good infrastructure, they haven't changed anything from what he's saying. The thing is, he's not the only one saying it. Roy Keane has been saying it. One of the pundits, Man United legend. One of the Neville brothers, whichever one it is, has been saying it. And he's actually been calling for someone to call the Glazers out. Glazers are the owners of Man United. So, Ronaldo, he's saying what a lot of people have been saying behind the scenes and have been wanting someone of his stature to speak about. But I do think he should have spoken about that only instead of just the managers, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, talking about all these different things. Ragnick when he came in. I feel like this should have been done at the end of the season or when he left Man United, not right now. Maybe he's doing it to push a move. I'm very 50-50. I understand why he's doing it, but there's certain things that of what he said and when he said it that I disagree with. And I do think he's being a big baby, that he's not getting playtime.
So, Danny, what do you think?
I don't know. I feel like there's always a lot more going on behind closed doors than we know. So when it comes to situations like this, I try not to form a strong opinion because I don't know. But I think some of the stuff that he brought up needed to be brought up, and I'm glad that he did. I think the timing was wrong as well. It's tough because I'm trying to put myself in his shoes, and if I was somebody who was considered the best player in the world, one of the best players in the world, to be sitting on the bench, I'd feel a type of way as well. Knowing what I can offer, whether or not he is supplying that right now, knowing what he can offer, of course he's going to feel some type of way. So whether or not it was the right way to go about it or not, I'm not sure. But I
goal scorer for them last year.
Bro,
I can understand.
I'm gonna quickly chime in because it's probably the only thing about the Portugal segments I'll be able to.
Yeah, exactly.
Any
No,
kind of
this is why I brought it up. It's something that everyone can talk about.
But I personally think he is being a crybaby. I think, bro, you're 30. What is he? 36, 37?
Yeah.
Communicate, bro. Like you're a grown ass man. If you're sitting on the bench and you don't like it, talk to the coach. Like, you know. And I watched that entire interview, and I feel like the way he talked about it made it seem like if there was no kind of conversation had between him and Ten Hag, because he was like how he doesn't think Ten Hag respects him and he doesn't think like all these things. Bro, just talk to him. Like just go talk to him. Just, like, figure out something, find a compromise, find out like why you're not being played. He just made it seem like if he's just sat on the bench and like he's not like, you know, being used. And I don't know. To me, I understand he was one of the best players in the world at a point in time. He can still score goals, but you're also a professional. Like, you've been in the game for so long. Like, you know how these things go. You're just not at the top anymore, so you're not gonna be the 1-2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan?
My hot take: he is a genius. He is a marketing god, right? So much pressure going into a World Cup. What has this man done, right? He's got all that pressure on him. He has got all the newspapers talking about him. Everything is on him. And actually not even about Portugal. It's just purely about Ronaldo, right? He couldn't do it after the World Cup. Wouldn't be enough time for clubs to start moving for him. He's done it before, which probably, okay, maybe not a good time for the World Cup, but then the World Cup isn't a good time for the World Cup, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, no, I think he's really clever. I think Ten Hag actually said before even going to United that he actually didn't want Ronaldo there. So I think that's where that lack of communication originally comes from. But looking at him, I see where he's coming from. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, right? He went to the club. As he left, he said Manchester United, they're a really big club with a really small club mentality. Jose Mourinho, his best achievement was finishing second with United, and he was saying that because of behind the scenes. Ralph Rangnick was signed on to be behind the scenes and then left because he saw what it was like and then didn't want to go behind the scenes. So something's clearly wrong with United itself. And I think this is a really good way. You've got the most influential player on this planet, right, calling out your club. Something needs to happen, regardless of whether you like him or not. I think he's saying the right thing for United. You can tell the issue is close to his heart, and that's why he's done it. If he was at Madrid or let's say Inter Milan or AC Milan, he never would have done this, right? But United's close to his heart, and I think that's why he's done it, because he's seen there's been no change in 20 years.
All right, let's talk about their World Cup stuff really quick, because we have like 5 to 10 minutes left. Again, this episode is super long just because we had so many teams right now. Future episodes, it'll still be the normal runtime of bottom of the net, but there was just so much to get through today that it definitely, we used the max of our time. So I do like Portugal's team. what's it called? If we look at the forwards, there's João Felix, Rafael Leao, which he's my guy to watch this tournament. I really hope he's starting. I really want him to start. I really want him to do good. Gonçalo Ramos for Benfica is going insane for Benfica, even though I still don't think he's truthfully an out-and-out striker. He's starting to prove me wrong. And he's going insane in Champions League. Benfica finished top of the group over PSG. Let me just put that in there. And then you still got Andre Silva. Ricardo Horta got called up. Midfield, João Paulinho, who's playing insane for Fulham. I don't know how they got him. Ruben Neves, who, even though the Wolves aren't doing the best, we know what he brings. Bernardo Silva plays for Man City. Bruno Fernandes, Man United. João Mario is Benfica's probably best informed player at the moment. Vitinha, who looks really good. Then you got the defenders, João Cancelo, Ruben Dias, Antonio Silva. Everyone's looking at Antonio Silva from Benfica, that central defender. He started every single game for Benfica. Pepe is still there. Then you got Nuno Mendes and Rafael Guerreiro. Portugal's team is stacked. I don't like the manager.
I agree. I just want to quickly say, watch out for Portugal's left back. He is quite possibly the best left back in the world. He plays for PSG. He is awesome. I've actually mentioned a few left backs today, but this is the best one out of them all. So keep an eye on him. He's really, really, really good. He's a fun player to watch.
As long as we play how Portugal should play, if we don't play for Ronaldo, when we play for the national team, we saw in the Euros, as soon as Ronaldo came off, we played 10 times better.
Yeah, we saw
a big miss is
Ronaldo needs to get injured.
Yeah. A big miss is Renato Sanches in the midfield. He was our workhorse. Work rate was insane. I know he hasn't played much for PSG because injuries kind of plague his career, but for a national team, he's always insane. Yeah, that's what I got. And again, guys, unfortunately we don't have that much time. So, Danny, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I think Renato Sanches is a huge miss. I think a lot of people are torn whether Ronaldo is important, should play, shouldn't play. I think because it is his final World Cup, he will show up. And I think he should be on the field. And I want João Mario to fill that role of Renato Sanches. I want him to play that type of role. I want João Mario to start. I think he's going to be a key player if he does play. And yeah, Portugal's team is stacked. I think we're going to pocket all three of the people, all three of the teams in our group. I think we're going to pocket them easily. I don't know. I can't see them. I can't see any of the three scoring against us like that. I don't know. I think we'll do well.
Can I just say really quick before I go to really quick, it depends on the manager. It depends who his starting 11 is. If he's still choosing Rafael Guerreiro,
that's right.
If he still chooses Rafael Guerreiro at fucking left back instead of Nuno Mendes, I'm gonna blow my brains out. That's one, okay? And again, he's just William Carvalho at Real Betis. He's good at Real, but bro, I'm gonna play
Paulinho.
Paulinho needs to play.
No. This is the thing, right? Steven mentioned about 10 good players and none of them will play because that's Portugal's manager. It's actually very similar to England. I don't think Portugal's problem will necessarily be conceding. It'll be them scoring goals. That's going to be the biggest issue. And they have a fantastic team, so they should be able to.
Which is why I want Rafael. We won 4-0 against Nigeria. Nigeria do have a decent team. But guess who wasn't playing? Ronaldo.
Yep. That's it.
So, really quick, final prediction. We're not going to be able to get to the accolades. I feel like we'll move that into the next session because while the group stage is going, it's kind of awkward to be talking about certain things. So we'll just talk about key moments that are happening in the group stage at that moment in time, plus who we think our dark horse and stuff is. I think we'll just save that for next time because we did use up a lot of time. I have Uruguay finishing top, believe it or not, even though I don't want to. I want to believe in Portugal, but I have Uruguay top and Portugal second going through. Danny, what are your thoughts? Well, I mean, who do you have? Sorry.
Portugal. Portugal. The Republic of Korea.
Okay. I knew he was going to say that. Aiden, how about you?
Uruguay top, Portugal second.
Okay, and finally,
Portugal, Ghana.
Portugal, Ghana.
Fair enough.
Interesting.
Not
They do
great Uruguay at all.
It's listen. A lot of these groups, bar like one or two, things could go. And the World Cup is so weird. They're all top level players. At the end of the day, they are called up for the biggest tournament, biggest event in the world, sporting event in the world. So at the end of the day, there's going to be upsets. There's going to be some groups that we might have even gotten completely wrong. You know, for all we know, Australia qualifies. You know, so it's really one of those things.
It's actually so silly to like try to predict World Cups like accurately because like it's a knockout tournament.
At least.
It's big. There's so many variables. Like it's.
Yep.
You can get 3 draws and progress.
Yeah, like I genuinely don't like predicting like tournaments like this because there's too much. There's too much. I hate being wrong, so I don't like to predict. But for the sake of the podcast, I will predict.
Just very quickly, because the next one is going to be the knockouts. I wonder which side, or A or B, is going to be the best to qualify from. I think that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, Cam, that's pretty much it, bro.
All right, thank you for everyone for tuning in. Get familiar with these faces. These guys did great. So for all your soccer information, you'll be going to these guys. See you next week. Peace.